What's up, witches? Here's a look at some bonus behind-the-scenes footage from this week's episode of the BetterWitch podcast.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
How are you?
I'm so great. It's so great to just hang out with you, Allie. I'm so excited to hang out with you. And I want to I hope we have a little time to talk about what you've been up to, because you've been up to so many amazing things. And I would love to have that just for my own catch up.
Yeah. No, it's been like, oh man, a whirlwind. It's good. It's a little much. It's my first time, having a small business. And it's a very steep learning curve that's necessary, because I never really approached anything in my spiritual life or my magical life as a business. That was never the plan. I was supposed to go to law school and be a corporate attorney. So I didn't really bother gaining these skills. And so now it's state taxes and insurance and, all of this stuff. And I'm just trying to be as spirit-led as possible and just take one step at a time. But we've got a physical location now, technically. It's not a storefront. It's an office that I moved into. Yeah, I'm got to make it work. A physical storefront in New York City is definitely a steep ask, and I plan to get there, but I feel like I've just been given this opportunity to make it work in this space. So we kind of started out as a work share, kind of like my office to do tarot readings and Reiki and to make my products and stuff. And then I kind of remodeled things with desks and extra Reiki tables and a coffee station and all of that stuff so that other folks can use the office. And it seems like a really great idea, and people get really excited about it when they hear about it. So right now the challenge is getting people to know that we exist. Because we don't have a storefront, there's no foot traffic. We're inside of the first floor of an office building. So that's kind of a challenge, just letting people know we're here. And the other part of it is what was just kind of my little factory to be a mad scientist and make concoctions, but is now expanding into a full conjure shop and metaphysical store. So books and decks and crystals and all that stuff, with a very strong focus on conjure magic and hoodoo and those types of products, because we do have quite a bit of botanicas in the city, and as you know, stores like Catland and Enchantments, and they're fantastic, but for the Bronx residents, they're a little far. And then what's near us are the botanicas, which are fantastic, but they really cater to specific ATR practices, and they don't necessarily have conjure curios and railroad nails and kind of the more Americana type practice stuff. So I've been really blessed to find some great root workers and folks that either make their own stuff or grow their own roots or things like that. And so the idea is to give them love and support by placing orders through them and stocking the shop with their stuff, but then also supporting the practitioners in the community that kind of always have to travel or go online for these things. So that's the dream.
Well, I'm telling you, that is how I started. I had an office that was behind another store. You had to the waiting room was sitting on the steps outside. Really? Because it was one room and I was doing readings in this one little room. But that's how I started. And that was back in 20, when I got my office, I was doing readings randomly around, town and different events and things like that. That's really how I started. Yeah. But when I finally got my office was around 2010. So 12 years from now, you'll be where I am, which is going crazy because there's too many things on my plate.
But that's where I want to be, and it's funny because I keep reminding myself of that. I don't know if you're familiar with Empress Karen Rose.
Yeah.
So her shop, I think, just had its 14th year birthday. And, you guys are definitely big inspirations for me and reminders for me to just take it one step at a time every day. You know, the shop that I have imagined in my mind, I know is going to become a reality, but I've got to be okay with it not being there right now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the hard part, because you have a vision and you want to have that, you know, 2,500 square foot shop with the, you know, lovely decor and great outside vibe and, you know, the backyard, and you want the whole thing. And it can be kind of deflating to not have it yet, because it's like, well, you know, what am I supposed to do with this? And I just keep trying to remind myself that, like, I can do it. And it's really good to hear that you started in an office, because I didn't know that, and that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I started by doing $5 readings at restaurants and bookstores.
Yeah.
So when you know, sometimes people come into they get to know you, and when you've already gone 6, 7, 8 years, and they don't know what happened before that. You just sprung on the scene like, you know, Athena coming out of the head of Zeus, fully formed, and that's what they see, and they're like, wow, she's really got it. But I was a single mom, still a single mom, but my kids are grown now, you know, living hand to mouth, and lost my job as a librarian. And I'm like, oh crap, I was already doing readings for people, for parties. That's what I was mostly doing, party readings for people. And that was like hit and miss. You know, you have maybe, you know, you may have 2 parties a month. So it was like a little supplementary income for my librarian income, which wasn't big to begin with. Then when I lost my job, I was like, holy crap. And I said, okay, I'm just going to do more tarot readings until I figure out what my next move is. And that's when I started doing those $5, $10, $15 readings. I mean, I was like the cheapest reader in town when I first started. And I was doing readings at restaurants. So I contacted everyone I knew that worked at like a cool little restaurant that might be open to it, bookstores, you know, little events here and there. I did every bloody event in town, but I had no space that I was doing out of it. But I knew at that time, I said, if I only had a little office space where I could do readings privately, I know I would do really well. That was my first step goal. And then I rented a place that was $500 a month. And I was like, how am I going to make $500 a month? Right. How am I going to do that? But it worked. It happened and it worked. So what I'm saying to encourage you is to know that everyone you see that's been doing this work for a while, has been doing it a while and made their way, unless they came with a golden parachute of some kind, you know, there may be those people out there. But I worked my way up from this very meager $5 readings. And I think back now, I mean, I think about the people that are like, God damn it, why wasn't I in that restaurant getting a $5 reading instead of a $200 reading?
Right. And then now you have staff now.
I have employees, I have everything, but you know, it's been great. It really has been amazing. And I have a big space where we manufacture and all of that, you know, but here's the thing. I want to tell you this. In the journey of creating a business, I know this is not the topic that we're probably going to be talking about.
No, please. I this is for me. And I might share it in like some behind the scenes, you know, goody content for my coven members or whatever, and be like, for those of you who are starting business, Madam Pamita talked me off the ledge.
But this is the thing. I think you need to have a mindset of, I'm going to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Part of being an entrepreneur, I think there are characteristics that you want to cultivate. And one of them is tenacity. I'm going to really stick with this until I get to a goal, but not be so tenacious to a particular goal. So my journey was, I started out wanting to be a party reader. That's really what I wanted to be. And that's how I started out. My little side gig, my side hustle while I was a librarian, was being a party reader. That to me was delightful. I wanted to go to parties, got paid $100 for a night, whole night I would do for $100, and do a Halloween party here, a birthday party there, and this and that and the other. So that was my vision for myself. But what I started to see is people wanted individual readings. And then I started to see there was an opportunity there. And so I started to do that more, bringing that into my bag of tricks. And then I started, I want to sell some product in my office. So I started bringing in some other people's product. Then I wanted to make I saw that there was a product that wasn't out there that I wanted to see, which was beeswax figural candles. So then I started making those. So as you go along, you're going to try some things that work and try some things that don't work. Like I don't even do party readings anymore. Well, since COVID, I don't do any party readings. I do occasionally, but also, there's things along the way that are learning experiences. I went from that little one office to a very expensive, fancy store in Santa Monica that was very expensive. And I spent a year working like a dog to pay the rent. I working 8 hours a day, doing readings, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week to pay that rent.
Wow.
And I was like, this isn't working. I don't want it. This is not the life I want to live. So then I backed off from that, and I did mail order for a while, and I did another little store that was more reasonable in a different part of town. And then I got to the point where I'm like, I don't need a retail space. I need a factory space. So I think you evolve and grow. And I think of thinking of it as evolution. You will try things, and you'll try some things, and they'll just be like, wah, wah. And then you'll try other things, and they'll take off. And so I think that willingness to sort of try different things and see what works and see what clicks for people is part of what being an entrepreneur is. And you're not going to bat 1,000. You are definitely not going to bat 1,000, but you don't need to bat 1,000 to be in the major leagues. All you need to bat is 350, girl.
That's a great point. That is a great point. I remember I had a professor that would always remind us of that, who would be like, listen, you can still get out of this class with a C+. He'd be like, you don't have to ace this class. I'm still going to let you get to move on with the C+. And sometimes, it would be great to do everything like excellently right out the gate and have it just like take off and be amazing. But reality might be you might just squeak by with that one and move on to the next thing. I think the thing that I hear most people say that they have in common is the tenacity part, not giving up.
Try new things, try it a different way. That's always the thing, that adaptability. Like there's been products that I've made that nobody was interested. I thought was really great. Nobody else was interested. Articles that I've made, videos I made. I'm like, everybody's going to want to do this class, and nobody wants the class.
Yeah, like, okay. Yeah.
So then I go, okay, well, that gives me some feedback. I don't look at it as failure. I look at it as feedback. That tells me you can do that class if you want, but if it's not, nobody's showing up, is that really going to be satisfying to you? Right. So maybe try something else, right?
Right.
So I just love watching. You know what? I really, sincerely, truly, deeply in my heart get so excited every time I see that you're doing something new, you're expanding, you're growing. It gives me so much. It just gives me a ton of joy because I know you, and I know how ethical you are, what integrity you have. The stuff that you're bringing is so high level, and so I just wish for you. I truly, in my deepest part of my soul, wish for you great abundance. There's enough for everyone. And I feel no sense of jealousy or competition when I see someone as brilliant as you doing amazing, because I go, this is great. This is building more. And you are just, I see around you, I really do see around you success, golden rays of success around you. So you will get there, and it's step by step, it's step by step.
Yeah.
And trying things and then abandoning things that don't work,
Yeah. That I definitely have to get better with that, because sometimes you're like beating a dead horse and it's like, just let it go. This isn't working.
Sign? What sign are you?
Yeah, I'm a Leo.
Oh. So that's good. Then it's like you have that tenacity, Leo will have the tenacity, right? To stick with something.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes you have to learn to let go. Okay, I got to let that go. That's a little harder, right?
Yeah. That's actually hard for me. Sticking with something, I can do. And I have found that, like, you make more space for yourself to grow and to receive more blessings when you clear out the things that you are not really benefiting from. But that can be really difficult when things are I'm a very like nostalgic person. I'm like the one in the family that's like, yes, I will keep the family photos. Yes, give me that old trinket that like, oh, grandma touched that, I'll keep it. So it's a little bit harder for me to like let things go and be okay with saying like, this didn't work, and that's all right. Let's move on to something else rather than, hanging on to something that isn't working. So I'm really proud of myself in the way that I've pivoted with HQ because, we started out as like just my office, and now we're going in the direction of more of like a retail shop, which has required me to take all the shelves off the walls, redo all the furniture, take them apart, move them into other rooms, and put them back together again, which has been exhausting. But I do feel proud of myself that I was at least able to do that, because I feel like, an older version of me would have just been like, no, I set up this office like this, so it's got to stay this way no matter what. And I'm glad I didn't do that, because I do think that the retail store is going to be successful. And I think that if for no other reason than just the availability of books, because this is something that I probably sound like a broken record because I keep talking about it, but the Bronx only has one bookstore, and we have nearly 2 million people living here. We did have a Barnes & Noble. It closed down during COVID. People fought really, really hard in the community to try to keep it open. It didn't work. And now we have a woman of color owned bookstore, which is so wonderful. Very proud to have that in our neighborhood. But we definitely need more than one bookstore, or at least, location for books. So I'm really excited to be offering books at the store, books and decks and stuff, because you definitely don't see a lot of that around here. So
it's such a different
believing
experience.
in it.
Yeah, just a different experience walking into a bookstore and being able to browse and look through the books and see if they're what you're looking for. It really is something that, and then bookstores become community hubs in a big way,
Yeah.
So I think that can really benefit you as being a place that it kind of gives people an excuse to come and hang out,
Yeah.
which the coming and hanging out can be very, it can feel like people get very attached to you, or very,
and then we
loyal to
actually
you.
have the space, which is such a blessing, to actually have the second room with tables and chairs and stuff, where people can come and hang out, or classes can be taught and stuff like that. So I feel really blessed, and I'm just like, just one day at a time. One day at a time.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your support. I've seen you reposting and sharing things and letting folks know that we're out there. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, of course. Always. I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah, thank you.
I remember when you were bartender teacher.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding? Like, my bartending channel still exists, and people still comment it. I just don't really go on it. But I see no reason to take it down, because it's like educational stuff. And I occasionally will visit the comments, and people are still, this helped me get my first job. Thanks so much. I was a waitress. I wasn't sure. So as long as people keep saying that the videos are helpful, I figure I'll just leave them up there. But it is kind of a little bit weird when people are like, because most people are like, oh, BronxWitch, or like, oh, Allie, you're the girl and teaching witchcraft on YouTube and stuff. But every once in a while, someone will be like, don't I know you from that bar? And I'm just like, oh my God, shh, please be quiet. How do you know me?
That you say that was my previous career as an alchemist.
Yeah. Well, I say in my Muggle life, I moonlit as an alchemist at night to pay for all of my brooms, So yeah. But a friend of mine actually pointed that out one day. She was like, what you're doing. This is when I first started making herbal medicine, and she's like, what you're doing is really not too far off from making cocktails. It's alchemy, and it's a different type of spirit. And I was like, oh, I hadn't really thought about that, but Yeah, it's a lot, especially when I'm making like tinctures and stuff. I mean, it's like I could put this in a bottle and, cure someone's headache, or I could shake it over ice and have a shot of it right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've got the skills to do either. And I think if you are an eclectic witch, or you are a new witch, you don't know what you are, the community that Madame Pamita has been growing is definitely a great safe space for you to gain knowledge and find other folks like you. So I definitely encourage participating in some of the things that she's got going on. So I just want to thank you so much, Pam, for being with me. This has been amazing, and a full circle, because it's almost like, I feel like it's almost 2 years now since I was on your show. And so this is like a total, turnaround for me, a full circle. It feels really beautiful. And I'm so grateful that you would take the time to talk to us, because you've shared so many great just nuggets of info today.
Well, I'll tell you, any new witches or anybody, you've got a great teacher in Allie. Allie is an amazing teacher. Before I even met you, because we met at Catland when I was teaching in person. I'm on the West Coast, you're on the East Coast, and we met at Catland. But I knew you and stumbled on you in some way. And I was like, there's something that I don't know what it is. Who knows what it is? But you go, that's one. She's one to watch. She knows what she's doing. As I was saying to her before we started recording, she has a golden aura of success around her. She really has the thing that's like the magic thing of like, I know she's going to go far. I know what she's teaching is solid, beautiful, and you're so generous. As a Leo, you are a Leo. You are a Leo. So generous with your time, your information, your kindness. Leos have a generous spirit, and you really show that generous spirit so much. So you are in good hands. If you're listening to this show, you're already in good hands with Ellie, because she is amazing, and you really are so special, and so special to me. I have to say that you really.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel the same way. You were talking about your YouTube channel being 10 years old, and I was like, that's when I started watching, because I've been watching from the longest. And when we first started following each other online, it wasn't BronxWitch, it was Rockstar Bar Girl. Like, we connected with a whole different platform that I had and everything, so it's definitely, it's just amazing to have you on the show and to hear your words. And I'm definitely going to be saving this even beyond the podcast, just so that when I'm having a hard day, I can repeat all the beautiful things you've said to me today.
Thank you, witches, for checking out the behind the scenes footage from this week's episode. Tune into YouTube every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for a new episode, and definitely join us right after that episode airs for a Coven-only live Q&A with our guest co-host. And make sure to leave a review of the BetterWitch podcast on your favorite podcast platform. See you next time. Blessed be.